What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate. Today, let's talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes, my favorite team in the college football world. This is my Ohio State fan reaction series, and they get the win over the Washington Huskies. I meant to put this video out yesterday, but there were some weird Wi-Fi issues going on in my apartment, so I decided to put it out tonight. So I do apologize for the delay. But the Buckeyes get the 24-6 win for their first road win of the 2025 season, and they end a, I believe, 23-game home winning streak for Washington. This is a crowd and a fan base that has not seen a home loss since 2021, and they beat some really, really good teams at home. So to get this win on the road, I think it's going to be undervalued by a lot, but make no mistake, this is a good Washington team and a good road win for the Scarlet and Gray. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. I'm a sports media graduate with a massive passion for everything that goes on in the world of sports, but especially with my Ohio State Buckeyes and the world of college football. If you want to hear what I have to say during the season, because we talk a lot more than just doing some fan reactions here on the channel. In fact, tomorrow coming out will be some weekly takeaways and my updated Power 30. Go down below, hit the subscribe button, and ring the bell so you're locked into everything I got going on. And if you want to follow me in my journey to reach as high as I can in the sports media industry, then go down below, or not down below, but read what's below me, and go follow me on social media at TailgateNate29, Twitter, Instagram, and wherever else you want to peruse the socials. Thank you so much for supporting and interacting with me, no matter how you do it, literally in any way, shape, or form possible. And let's get into talking about what Ohio State did against Washington, and it was an incredibly slow start. Everybody started slow. The offense started slow. The defense started slow. There was obviously the mistake on special teams. And trust me, we'll get into all of that here as this video progresses on forward. But they really pick it up into the second half. This is a Washington team, and this is what won the game. This is the Washington team that was perfect in the red zone entering this game. Well, they made, I believe, 3 or 4 trips down there and came away with 2 field goals. That's it. In fact, that second field goal, I don't even know if they got into the red zone. I'm thinking they did, but my memory could be serving me wrong. Regardless, this is the team that Ohio State kept off the board. It was one of the most dynamic offenses in the country, and it only got 2 field goals out of it. Now, I thought Washington missed a lot of opportunities, and I'll say this right off the bat, the refs were not good. They were not good. In fact, there were a couple calls that went Ohio State's way that personally I disagreed with. Is what it is. As I've said many times on this channel, you have to play the hand that you are dealt. Washington did have some missed opportunities, but I thought Ohio State did play really well. Again, first half was very, very slow, but they picked it up in that second half and started to play the style of football that I think you're going to see a little bit more accustomed to seeing. They were opening things up a little bit, really not that much, maybe a tiny bit, but the defense is really what I want to get into here in this video. We're going to go back and talk about the offense, but I want to get into the defense because I have been very skeptical sitting here and even writing some articles for the media company that I work at now. I've been very skeptical about this 4-man front and not sending a ton of blitzes. I felt like this is a defensive front that doesn't lack talent, but it is a linebacking room that's so athletic and so versatile that you would be mistaken not sending them on blitzes because it's just going to put the opposing defenses off and they're not going to be able to stop it. Well, now it looks like that this is a defensive front that's not going to be able to be stopped either. 6 sacks in the game, all by defensive linemen, including 3 from Mr. number 92, Caden Curry. He was absolutely spectacular in that game. You had Caden McDonald get home for a couple of sacks. I believe Kenyatta Jackson opened everything up, getting the first sack of the game, 9 tackles for loss. And as soon as the Buckeyes put that spy on quarterback DeMond Williams, this Washington offense could not really do a whole lot. It does have some good playmakers, so it was going to make some plays here and there. You expected that. But man, was this defensive front impressive. Jonah Coleman was one of the leading rushers in the country entering this week. And yes, he did rip off some pretty nice sizable runs, not for lack of this defensive front and linebacking unit. I'll talk about why in a little bit. But they bottled him up for 70 yards. He still had a fairly good day, averaged 5.4 yards per carry. But what they were able to do with DeMond Williams in controlling his run game, I thought was the most impressive thing this defense did, aside from, of course, that now front 4 really starting to come together nicely and really starting to play as a full collective unit. this is a defensive front that now I'm not going to doubt anymore. I have tremendous confidence in them moving on forward. You got some really physical teams coming up on the schedule. Minnesota, Illinois, you still have to play Penn State. Michigan, we know that's their brand of football, is physicality. I love the way that this defensive line looks, and it's one of my big takeaways from this game. It might even be the biggest takeaway from this game. Secondaries looked great as always, and yes, Damon Williams only had 4 incompletions, but this is a team that did not allow the big play, nothing over 23 yards, even though there were some of those chunk plays being ripped out. This was a Buckeye defense that bent, but it didn't break. Again, that red zone defense, go back and look even to last season, new defensive coordinator. So this is something that is now incited and indicted within the program. This is not an individual defensive coordinator thing. To me, now this is a program thing. This is the best red zone defense in the entire country. Period. End of story. You can call me biased in that if you want. So be it. I think this is the best red zone defense in the entire country. They proved it last year. They're showing it again. Or I should say they showed it last year and they are proving it this year. And it's not a defensive coordinator thing. They did it with Jim Knowles. Now they're doing it with Matt Patricia. And it is spectacular. Again, Washington was perfect in the red zone entering this game. 2 field goals. 2 field goals, no touchdowns, including a weird fake field goal that I don't understand why Washington tried. Ohio State was playing that field goal very conservative anyway, kind of like they were planning for there to be the potential for a fake, and obviously there was, and it just, I mean, it was terrible. It was about one of the worst executed fake field goals I've ever seen, and obviously those are really hard to pull off, so you could say that about a lot of fake field goals, and there probably are many examples out there that are executed way worse than that, because all the guy had to do was turn around, and maybe there's a shot, but he was draped in white jerseys. I didn't think there was a shot for that at all. Defense played great. Really happy with the way this defense is coming along. They have not allowed an opponent to score over 10 points so far this year, and they faced what everyone still presumes, and Texas is going to be at least the top 10 team in the country at the end of the year, and Washington, who's a pretty high-octane offense. I think Ohio's got a pretty decent offense as well, but I know people won't look into that one much because they are the Group of 5 team, right? But Ohio State's held some pretty talented offensive units to I'd say the 7 points or less. Ohio was the one team that scored the most on them, and they scored 9. I mean, this is a Buckeye defense that still looks like it's going to be one of the best in the country. Okay, let's switch things over to the offense. The biggest question entering this game was Julian Sand. How is he going to handle the road environment? And it started out slow. I'll be honest. And again, who didn't start out slow in this game? Everybody for the Buckeyes started out slow, trying to get used to the road game environment, so on and so forth. Going up 7-3 at halftime. I'm not going to necessarily say it was lucky, but Washington missed some opportunities to where I felt like Washington could have even had the lead into the halftime locker room, but it shows you what this Buckeye defense is made of, right? Okay, for the Buckeye offense, Julian Sand, 22 of 28, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing world-breaking, but he finished with a QBR near 89. In fact, 1/10 of a point away from finishing with an 89 QBR, and he really impressed me a lot beyond the statistics in this game. Now, what I'm about to read does not sound flashy at all. 4 carries for 12 yards. Okay, Nate, big deal, right? Sometimes quarterbacks do that. Julian Sand is a pure pocket passer. He was under pressure a lot in this game. And, well, there are 2 things that he did really, really nicely. One is just an attribute that he has. It's not something that you can teach, but his quick release, this was an offensive line I didn't think that played their best game. There were a lot of mistakes, even a lot of penalties, especially on Phillip Daniels. He has got to get those cleaned up, and so on and so forth. They just didn't run block as best as they could, especially in pass protection. I thought they could have done a whole lot better, and you give a lot of credit to this Washington defense for being able to provide that pressure, but that quick release from Sand comes in so handy because it's just boom, and it gets out of there. There's no chance to react, to deflect the pass. There's no chance for a defensive lineman to even try to knock the ball out of his hand as he's cocking back to throw, because it's just boom, out. And I love that about Julian Sand. I said it coming into the year, maybe not publicly. I did say he has one of the quickest releases in all of college football, which obviously is true. It might be the quickest, but he did another thing, and it's more impressive because I didn't think that he had this level of the attribute in his game. He's a pocket extender. He was able to get outside the pocket, make some good throws on the run, look defenders off downfield, and find the open man. I thought Julian Sain's manipulation of the passing pocket was elite in this game. It was elite. And the way that he even, too, really grew up from the last game. You saw him make a play against Ohio where he was under pressure, in a little bit of trouble, and just tried to superhero flip the ball forward. Well, it fell right into the arms of a defensive lineman, obviously for a pick. Didn't end up building well for the Buckeye offense. Obviously, a turnover. If the play wasn't there, I can't believe how much he grew up just in 2 weeks. Now, obviously, you had the bye week to get right, but man, in one game, now instead of trying to force a ball downfield, the play not there, he just chucks it away. Or better yet, he took off and ran. He took off and ran a couple of times in this game, including a 12-yard run on, I think, 3rd and 17, ended up making the field goal a whole lot more manageable. It's not going to get you the first down. It's not a flashy play, but it makes the field goal a whole lot better for Jaden Fielding. And I thought the way he was able to get outside of the pocket, I think he did it just enough to where a defense is not going to focus on it and not make it a point of emphasis, because you shouldn't with Julian Sayin, but he did it enough to make future defenses respect the ability. That's just my opinion. If I was a defensive coordinator, I'd be looking at that and saying, ooh, we might want to watch out for that. That could cause problems for us. Julian Sayin is not the most athletically gifted player on this team. You're looking at Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Bo Jackson, etc., etc. But the kid's got some legs, and I was really impressed with the way that he was able to get out and run, as well as the poise that he showed in a very loud road game environment. I like that a lot. I like that a lot from what I saw from Julian Sayin. I do have this to say about the offense, though. I think Bo Jackson looks like a stud. Jeremiah Smith had a Jeremiah Smith type game. No, there weren't the downfield shots, saving that for later. In fact, there was no play this offense ran that went for 20 yards or more. There just wasn't. There was not that big explosive play, which leads me into my point. All right, I could not tell you what happened there, but it is fixed. I apologize for whatever just happened with my camera and microphone, so I had to pause the video to fix it. So sorry if there's a weird like glitch or anything in it. It's going to go up. You guys know I don't edit these videos, so apologies for that. But my point, Ryan Day said that he felt like Julian Sayin, they called a very conservative game plan against Texas, and Ryan Day admitted that. He felt like Julian Sayin could have handled a lot more. In fact, we all know that because he said it immediately once the game hit triple zeros. He said it right there on the field in the postgame interview that Julian Sayin could have handled more. Well, okay, you're going to open up the offense a little bit because it's Grambling State. You're going to hit your shots downfield. That's not a problem. You didn't really have to flash too much against Ohio, even though that game got a little tricky at times. I think to a lot of people out there, the game was never really in doubt, and the Buckeyes were eventually going to be able to go on that run to win the game. So Grambling State and Ohio don't make you open up your offense, and now you had a first-year starting quarterback go on the road in a really, really tough road game environment, and there was the conservative play calling again. And Julian Sayin showed poise. He showed the ability to handle it. So my question being, when do you open up the offense? Because Minnesota next week, I don't think is going to make you open up the offense. I don't think Minnesota's got the horses offensively, especially if Darius Taylor's not going to play, because he's been having some injury problems to hang with what the Buckeyes have defensively, even, let alone trying to match what Ohio State can put up offensively, even if they just go short route, short route. Julian Sayin can spin the football, man. He's hit tight ends on a couple seam routes in some games this year. He's found Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate downfield. Again, the one play where they really opened things up against Texas, beautifully thrown ball, and a very nice catch from Carnell Tate. So when do you open up the offense? I know the narrative surrounding Ryan Day. He's a conservative play caller. He's not going to do that, blah, 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 and the keyboard warriors are going crazy in the comment section down below. Again, I am a very big defender of Ryan Day. Like him as a head coach, like him as a guy, and I'm not one to sit up here and question play calling. The only thing I am questioning, maybe just sort of wondering, when does this offense open up? Because, I mean, looking at the next couple opponents, you probably aren't going to have to open up for Minnesota. You probably open up a little bit on the road against Illinois. I think the Illini are going to be a tricky game, and that one can get dicey. So I think you can open the offense up a little bit after that game. Wisconsin's not that great. They're not going to make you open up the offense. Do we have to wait until November 1st until we see this offense in full gear? Because I know what a lot of Buckeye fans want. I know a lot of Buckeye fans want this offense to grip it and rip it, and for Bo Jackson to hit these massive gaps, and for James Peoples to just explode through the hole, right? This is what Buckeye fans want. They want this offense to go insane. As long as this defense keeps playing the way that they are, the Buckeyes don't have to score more than 17 points per game to get a nice, comfortable feeling win. And that's exactly what you saw play out here. They scored 24. That's not a very flashy number. That's a very low scoring number. Some people may look at that and think, oh, what's going on with Ohio State's offense? I'm telling you right now, the offense is fine. But the question of when it is going to open up is starting to rattle around in my brain, because do I want this team to call conservatively all year? No, I want to see this offense grip it and rip it. I like points just as much as you like points, and I want all of the points. Put them all on one big silver platter and feed them to me with a golden spoon. Please, I want all of the points. But I also recognize, look, this defense is playing out of their mind, especially in the secondary. The linebackers, they've shown that they can adapt to any sort of game plan. The defensive front, really, in a lot of moments, even, I don't know if I said this earlier, wasn't even looking to sack DeMond Williams. They were just looking to contain him, and the secondary did a good enough job to where the defensive front was able to get home. But the defensive front was able to get home quicker than it had in other games this year, which is why I was so impressed with the way that they played. But this offense, man, it has got to be able to open things up at least a little bit. Maybe they do it in a night game in the shoe next week. Maybe they open things up a little bit, and I can give you the coach speak for why they're not. They're keeping things off of film. Why? I'm not sure. Maybe they're letting Brian Hartline get comfortable in this offensive coordinator setting. Maybe Ryan Day and Brian Hartline are co-calling offensive plays. I really don't know the answer for that. I'm not close enough to the program to know that. Maybe some of you out there are that are watching this video. But what I can tell you is I think they're trying to avoid putting things on film. I think there are a ton of aces in the hole for this Buckeye offense. I think you're seeing Bo Jackson emerge as one of them, so teams are now going to game plan for him. Well, you can go 3 deep in this running back room, so that's going to be a massive problem for a lot of defenses this year, but more in terms of the passing game. I think that's what people want to see open up. We know this run game has the ability to rip off some big runs. Hell, Bo Jackson has done it twice already this year. He is going to be the for lack of better terminology, Travion Henderson of this team. He's going to be the guy that's going to rip through the hole, make the big explosive play when he needs to. He's not as fast as Travion, but he's a damn good athlete. And Bo Jackson's going to provide that role. In the passing game, Julian Sayin can handle it. You have a really good tight end group. You have one of the best wide receiver rooms, if not the best wide receiver room in the entire country, highlighted by the star of college football that you see on the left-hand side of your screen. So when does it happen? I'm really itching to find out when this offense opens this thing up. Now, some improvements moving on. We have hit the 1/3 mark of the season. Third of the season is done. We got 8 games left to go. Tackling. Okay. For as well as this defense has been playing, there are going to be moments, and you saw this start to come out against Washington. You've seen it in other games as well, the long touchdown pass that Ohio had in their previous game. I get it, but you especially saw it here. Washington's got some elite skill position players. Jonah Coleman at running back is a damn good player. Denzel Boston and some of these other wide receivers, younger guys that emerge for Washington in this game, are really, really good football players. There were some moments where the Buckeyes were able to make some tackles in the open space. However, a lot of the times, these really good skill position players are very comfortable at making you miss, and that's a testament to them, but tackling has been an issue for the Buckeyes so far, especially getting guys down on first contact. Jonah Coleman was able to run through contact pretty much all damn day. There was not a lot of times to where a Buckeye defender solely got home. got the first contact, and then that was it, right? Now, Jonah Coleman's a really hard running back to take down, but you got a lot of those. If Darius Taylor comes back next week for Minnesota, I think he's going to pose some problems. You have Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. They're both going to pose some problems. Even Caden Fegan, however you pronounce his last name, the running back over at Illinois, he's going to cause some problems. And tackling in open space, if you get one-on-one in the secondary, Illinois' got some good wide receivers. So does Penn State, even though they haven't been able to use them this year. So on and so forth. Whoever you match up with in the Big Ten Championship, the college football playoff. And there is still a lot of growth left. I don't think Ohio State's going to see an elite wide receiver room until they get to the Big Ten Championship, where they possibly play Oregon or Indiana, and then henceforth into the college football playoff. It would be a crying shame if this team didn't make it this year with the way that they are playing. I see it as pretty likely this team gets in. But this is a team that needs to tackle better. The offensive issues in the red zone, defense has been great. The defense I have no issues with in the red zone at all. Offensively, I just think it's execution on fourth down. The one fourth down that they ran in the red zone on Saturday, it just was a missed assignment by the tight end that lined up as a fullback, was supposed to chip the linebacker in the hole, and, well, guess who C.J. Donaldson met right at the point of attack? Might have been Bo Jackson. I believe it was C.J. Donaldson. But he met the linebacker that was supposed to be blocked by the fullback. So that's a guy that just didn't do his job. I think the message to Ryan Day and the team is, hey, look, we're fine. I don't mind the idea, me personally, just going for it, being aggressive inside the goal line. I like that, and it defeats the narrative a little bit that Ryan Day is a conservative play caller. If so, you would have taken the 3 points. He wants 7, right? He wants the points just like I do, and a lot of you out there as well. I think if they clean up the execution inside the red zone, things are going to go a whole lot better for them, and that could be a problem down the stretch. They're 85% in the red zone this year. There are 11 teams in the Big Ten that are better than that. That is inexcusable. They have got to get better at that. And special teams. I know there are some Buckeye journalists and fans that are going to call special teams a disaster so far this year, and the Brandon Inniss muff punt is definitely going to help back up those claims. I don't think it's been that bad because I encompass special teams as a whole. Are there missed assignments, and can the execution be better? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it can be. But Jaden Fielding hasn't missed a kick this year. For the 7 or 8 times that we've punted this year, whoever's back there doing the kicking duties has done a really nice job. I know they've only pinned 1 punt inside the 20, but this is just not a team that punts that often. And maybe you get into a defensive brawl where neither offense can move. I could see the game against Penn State trending that direction, so on and so forth. So special teams can get cleaned up in there as well. Other than that, though, I really want to see this offense open up, make those improvements on those 3 things moving forward, and there's really no reason why Ohio State can't hold on to this number 1 ranking for the rest of the season. Oregon makes a very compelling case, though. If you want to put Oregon as your number 1 team in the country, not going to question you, not going to argue with you, not at all. It's a very valid, reasonable argument, especially because of who they just went and beat on the road. Next game, a night game, it's Big Ten Saturday night on NBC. 7:30 Eastern kickoff against Minnesota. Then you move on the road to Champaign against Illinois. Another road game against Wisconsin before your bye week, and the game against Penn State. And that is the second third of the season. So we are entering the middle part of the season here. We are headed into October, where chaos happens. So this is where you really got to be on your toes and make those improvements. But very happy with this win, 24-6. And we'll see you next week after the Buckeyes game against Minnesota. Remember to play hard. I messed up the ending. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. Tune in tomorrow for my weekly takeaways and Power 30. And we'll dive into predicting some of the bigger games in Week 6 here later on. Goodbye.